Now, with all the hoo-ha last week about flights all over Europe being grounded, we said it'd be very interesting to talk to a few pilots, because they were in the news because of inaction more than anything else. So we've rounded up 3 pilots. What's the collective noun for pilots?
Whinge of pilots.
So we've Karl O'Neill, Sarah-Louise Gibbons and Norman Champ, and to give them their full titles, Captain Karl O'Neill, First Officer Sarah-Louise Gibbons and First Officer Norman Champ. You're all very welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Karl, how did you occupy your time off? Are we on constant standby?
I was actually in work. We were trying to figure out how to get all our crews home from remote bases, so it took quite a bit to get them all back via boats and trains, etc. So I was in.
You were in. What about you, Sarah-Louise?
Oh, well, I was on days off, and then I was on standby for a few days, so I have been off now since
right.
a couple of weeks.
Oh, have you? Nice. Yeah. Nice. You get a lot of time off. You do, obviously, because Norman, as a pilot, you can't be tired or anything like that.
Well, we tend to be tired quite a bit at the end of a long day, but we usually work on a fixed pattern of 6 days of work and then 3 days off.
Right.
So we get 3 days off at a time.
It's nice. So, Karl, we start with you. I'm fascinated to know how you sort of decide you want to be a pilot. It is one of those things that boys in particular, it's machinery, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think every young fella at some stage throughout their childhood decides, I'd like to be a pilot. I was living in Saudi Arabia on the site of an airport growing up for periods, and I think just watching the aircraft going up and down every day, got to know some pilots who lived near us, and I think that just instilled a little seed in me that made me want to do it all my life,
Look, I've spoken to a lot of people who want to be pilots, and for various reasons they don't qualify. It appears to me that the qualification process is quite arduous, is it?
Yeah, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get in. They assess a lot of things, starting off medically, or if you do aptitude tests. I think there's a myth out there that you need to be very intelligent to do it. In fact, I think if you're very intelligent, it might actually discount you because you get quite bored very easily. But yeah, we do have to jump through a lot of hoops to get through it. But
right, because First Officer Sarah-Louise Gibbons, you did a degree from Trinity. Would a lot of people have a primary degree first? Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, actually, a good few people through the company would have degrees.
What's your primary degree in?
Medicinal chemistry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but it's sort of worlds apart from being a pilot, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. Well, I just decided that it'd be good, to go. Well, I was very interested in chemistry and science anyway, so I decided to go for a degree first, and have that sort of lifestyle and the whole college lifestyle for 4 years, which was fantastic, and then decided, as even Karl said, a lot of people kind of, you don't know, you may have to jump through a few hoops or whatever to get into flying, so it was not something I thought was very accessible until maybe after college, and I really looked into it.
But it was something you always wanted to do, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, always, since I was very young.
Like how young?
I remember my aunt told me a story there at Christmas that maybe I was 5 or 6 out her back garden and saw a plane going over and decided, I want to fly. so it's really young, I think.
I remember, it must have been, was it the late 80s or the early 90s when, say, Aer Lingus appointed the first female pilot? There was a big hoo-ha about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's the breakdown now, ratio-wise, male to female? Any ideas?
Well, in CityJet, there's about 5% of the flight crew are female.
Female, right. Still quite low.
Yeah, so
right.
that equates to about 10 of us.
So you're still an oddity with female pilots.
Thanks,
yes.
Yeah.
But you don't often hear them, do you, when you're flying? You don't often hear the voice coming over.
No, it's. I think more and more are coming into it. In the 10 years I've been flying, certainly the numbers have increased, and as Sarah-Louise said, we now have about 5%, whereas we probably had a lot less. But every year there's more and more coming, which is great. And
Norman, you followed Sarah-Louise, did you?
No, I started, as coincidence has it, we were actually in Trinity as well. I did a science degree, I specialised in zoology, and it was about a year after that I haven't really got a really romantic story about wanting to become a pilot. I was interested in it as a teenager, and I did a flying lesson, but as Sarah-Louise said, it wasn't very accessible at the time financially, a few other reasons. So after the degree, I went down to South Africa for a year, and I finished up then in 2007. And then joined CityJet after that. So
a lot of people, is South Africa where a lot of people go? And why is that?
It's there's Well, there are quite a few options actually, whether it be the States or a few places in Europe. But there was a course that had started up a couple of years ago, sending people down to the school down there, and it was at the time run in conjunction with CityJet, which made it quite attractive for prospective cadets, and that's one of the reasons I chose to go down there.
Okay, so you're involved in training, Karl. So so you're across the qualifications and the type of people that become pilots, the type of people who don't.
Yeah.
You say that anybody can become a pilot, really?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, a lot of people apply. Unfortunately, money, you need a lot of finance to actually do the initial training now, which does limit it to people, which we're trying to overcome, through various means.
So you're not necessarily getting the best people, present company excluded. You're just getting the richest.
Well, not necessarily the richest either. I think we'd like to be able to broaden the pool that we pick from.
Right.
Most certainly, and that's something that the whole industry needs to look at. But yeah, I think.
So what would rule me out of becoming a pilot?
Maybe age or something, I don't know.
Right. Apart from age.
Nothing,
What would rule one out of?
I don't know. There's medical. The first thing we would say to anybody to do is, you have to go and do a medical. You could be fit and healthy, but there may be something there that you don't know about.
Well, colour blindness, I don't imagine.
Colour blindness, but even important. Some people don't know that they're colourblind on specific things. Flat feet is another thing, which can rule people out.
Why?
Always a bizarre one, this, but the brakes on an airplane are up at your toes, and the rudder is basically down at your heels, and if you can't distinguish between which you're pressing, it could become a bit of a difficulty.
So if you're flat-footed, you can't manoeuvre your foot. So to operate the controls of an airplane, just get this right. So one of them, you have to press down your heel and not press down your toe.
Correct.
Aha. And then you press down. But if you're flat-footed, you press both of them together.
You may do that.
You may do that, and that wouldn't be good.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be good.
I'm not a doctor, but yeah,
that wouldn't be good at 32,000 feet.
No.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Ray Darcy, flat-footed pilot. There's the voice thing, because they always sound, and that's hugely important. Do you do training, Sarah-Louise? Because are you at the stage where you're actually talking to the passengers?
Oh yeah. You're thrown into the deep end on your first day. Yeah.
And do you practice that in your training course? Because if you come on and you yes, says Karl, which means I don't know if you do, but you have to sound calm. If you're going through turbulence, you have to get on and sort of sound calm, don't you? Yeah,
well, generally, say even just for the turbulence thing, you'd put on the seatbelts, and the cabin crew then would have a nice pre-recorded turbulence report.
All right.
Seated, so you don't come in case your voice would be bumpy.
And is that the most common question you're asked? What is turbulence?
For me, I think, definitely. You go to if you're on a night out or anything like that. Oh, so you're a pilot. Oh, what's turbulence? Okay.
What are we going? Look, I won't ask you the next time you're out and I'll eat you. What is turbulence?
Well, basically, you can have it either in clear air when there's no clouds and it's associated with the jet stream.
Right.
Basically strong winds, or else if you're going through clouds, then it's just basically the air going up and down in the cloud.
And I'm sure as pilot you go, I dropped 100 feet, and somebody else says, you think that's bad? I dropped 100. So what's the most you can drop? Isn't that what happens? Isn't that free fall?
Very little. I read in the paper the other day that there was an aircraft over India that dropped 18,000 feet. I think the actual facts were that it dropped 100. So it just becomes bigger and bigger with every story. But
But dropping 100 feet, you'd know about that, wouldn't you? That'd shake you up a bit.
Like you really, when we're going through turbulence, if we look at our instruments, we're actually not really going up and down at all. You'd actually get more bumped on your way to the airport in the car, like if you actually think about it, physically.